Welcome to Candid Campus, where we sit down with members of USC-Aiken's community to hear their stories and experiences. I'm Katie, and today I am joined by the Associate Professor of Sociology and Co-Director of the Minors in African American Studies, Dr. Melencia Johnson. Hello, it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
All right, so you grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia. There's a lot of history there. What was it like growing up there?
Well, here's the thing. I say Lynchburg because no one knows where the small town is
Okay.
that I actually grew up, which is Concord, Virginia. So growing up there was, it's some fun. It was rural. We grew up in a suburban community, if you can call a suburb of a very small town suburb. But it was a community, and it was like one of those places where all the families came to do their Halloween, trick-or-treating, that kind of thing. And then we moved a mile away to a place that was a little more, had a little bit more space, and it was a farm that had been sold. And so, now we have a community on there. But we were the only house on the block for quite a while. But one of my key experiences growing up there was recognizing that, my family was one of the only Black families living in both of those communities. And so that really shaped, my friendships, it shaped my experiences, and, my choices moving forward and what I studied and when I decided to go away for college and everything.
Yeah. What brought you to Aiken?
USC-Aiken. Okay. So right out of graduate school, I knew I wanted to work at a smaller university that was teaching focused. And so I actually began my employment at Payne College in Augusta, Georgia, a historically Black college. Yeah. And after a couple of years, I decided to make a change, and I really liked the area. And I had never visited Augusta or Aiken prior to coming down here. So I was like, okay, let's see, what's going on in the community. And we started to go and visit Aiken a little bit more frequently. And it's just a cute town. It has everything you need, right? And maybe not all the things you want, but everything you need. And so I received a position here, and I've been here since 2012.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You said you're involved in community service. What kind of activities do you participate in, and where do you serve?
Oh my goodness. So over the years, I just kind of found my passion in community service. So when I first moved to Aiken, I was a part of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And I got in with them pretty immediately. And just, doing things around town, working with their youth council, working with students at USC-Aiken's campus to make sure that their chapter was up and doing the things that it needed to do. I started to get involved in nonprofit boards as well. So Helping Hands Incorporated. Okay. I really enjoy being on their board, and I love their mission. They're helping out families and children. It's a children's group home. And then started to get really involved with Aiken Downtown Development Association, which puts on a lot of awesome events downtown. But being on that board helped me to connect with the community at large and really kind of see how important downtown is to Aiken and the experiences that they curate for the downtown area, and of course for everyone in Aiken. And then kind of moved on from there to Hopeland's Gardens, and because I visited the park so often, it was just one of those things that kind of felt natural to me. Yeah. And then the Center for African American History, Art, and Culture. Okay. And I joined their board. I took a break from the board, and I came back, and I'm now serving as the vice president of the board of directors. And so most of my community work in some way, shape, or form is working with education. And so when I was at Hopeland's, I was part of the education committee and bringing activities to Hopeland's Gardens to educate folks on like everything from recycling to when to plant your roses. Okay. At the Center for African American History, I am really sort of pushing memberships right now, so helping us to get more members so that we can offer more educational experiences. And with NAACP, I am the college liaison, so to speak. So I work with the chapter here on campus and make sure that they're doing everything they need to do, but also bringing them the opportunity from our branch to participate in conferences and to go and learn more about being successful leaders. Yeah.
Is community service something you've just always done, like it was integrated in you from a young age, or is it something that as you've grown up, you're like, oh, what do I need to do? And then you've just kind of found it?
I guess a little bit of both. So when I was younger, I was just told to do stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't realize it was community service, until I was
Yeah.
older, I guess. Like just doing stuff with church and, going out and, my grandmother, like going and taking people groceries, that kind of thing. And it's just like, okay, I'm just doing what my grandma's telling me to do. But I guess I kind of realized later that is service, And so when I got to college, an undergrad at Norfolk State University, I had an opportunity to be a part of several organizations that were doing community service. And I think that's kind of where I found like my niche, so to speak, and trying to connect people and connect communities to their resources that they need or maybe didn't even know they needed, but here they are, just in case. And so I think I developed it more once I got to college and actually kind of honed in on a specific space where I wanted to do service.
Yeah, yeah. What's a reason everyone should do community service?
Just because you need to be a better human, try to help your people, help your environment, help the place that you live. I mean, if it's nothing but picking up trash on the side of the road, I mean, you don't have to do that with an organization. If you see trash, stop and pick it up. That's really easy to do. But use your skills, whatever knowledge you have, the skills that you have, use those to help somebody else. And I think that's just makes us a better person, a better human, but also helps to, make our world a better place. I know it's kind of cliche, but.
Right. No. You also enjoy tennis. Are you on a team or you just play for fun? And how long have you been playing tennis?
Oh, I'm an old lady tennis player at this point. That's what I call myself. So I've been playing tennis since I was a kid. Okay. So down from our house was an elementary school that had a tennis court. And my dad would pull me out there to play tennis. I was not very good as a young person. I wasn't involved in any like team tennis sports when I was younger, but we just went out there and played around. And Andre Agassi was his favorite tennis player, so he's out here like trying to hit around like Andre Agassi, and I'm a 7-year-old just trying to find the ball. Right. But it was really cool to start there. And then as I got to middle school, I started to get a little bit more serious about it. And then I got on the JV team and then joined the varsity team in high school. And we were a pretty decent team. We weren't the best, but we were pretty decent. And decent enough that I was able to get a scholarship to go to college and play tennis. And so it was still fun for me at that point. And I get to graduate school, and I'm old at this point, so there's no more eligibility left. And I created a club tennis team, and we played in graduate school, and we actually went out to tournaments. And, did competitive tennis. And so I took a break for a while because my knees started hurting, and then when I moved down here. Initially to Augusta, I started playing out of Augusta at Newman Tennis Center, which I still play out of there, and also Odell Weeks Tennis Center here in Aiken. And so I'm on multiple teams. I've been playing competitive USTA tennis. Oh, wow. Since I got here, I guess since like 2010, maybe 2011, something like that. And it's fun. It gets me outside because I enjoy being outside. Yeah. Except when it's cold, because, I'm like, don't call me if it's, below like 56 degrees. Do not call me to play any tennis. And if it's over 90, don't call me to play tennis. Yeah. There's like a nice little special.
8 a.m.
Right. So I enjoy it. I play at least a couple times a week as I can. And I play with an amazing group of women, and we're out there, and we leave all the home stuff at home, and we're just out there, playing tennis, hitting balls, getting stressed out. Yeah. And just enjoying ourselves.
Good, yeah, yeah. Reading is a hobby as well for you.
Oh, yeah.
What books do you read?
Everything.
Okay.
I ask students all the time if I see them reading in the hallway, what are you reading? They'll tell me, and I'll put it on my list. I don't discriminate. I'm in a couple of book clubs, and so, sometimes it's random picks. I'm like, why the heck would this be a book that you want to read? But I'll read it and sometimes enjoy it, sometimes not. But I enjoy reading for fun. But of course, as a professor, reading is our job too, so I'm reading papers, I'm reading, I'm a criminologist, so I'm reading depressing stuff a lot. So I tend to get into fun for me, historical fiction. Okay. So I do read a lot of historical fiction. Melencia Johnson is one of my favorite authors in that genre. I read like Afrofuturist kind of stuff too. And like Kindred is one of my favorite novels by Octavia Butler, and pretty much anything that she writes. Parable of the Sower is another one of my favorites. And so I read to kind of escape from the humdrum of the day, but you know, I always have a book with me. Had I brought my bag, there would be a book in it right now. I think the one in my bag right now is Yellow Wife. And that one's pretty good so far. Historical fiction.
Yeah. What was I read a historical fiction book recently, and it was like half historical fiction, half just like biography about some guy. He was in World War II, and he was like Olympic runner. And I'll have to go home and I'll email you and I'll be like, this is the book. Because it was really good. Like there were some parts where it was like, it got dry, but it was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, I have my to-read list is so long. Yeah. And I call it my emotional support stack of books. That's on. I have a spot where I sit in the living room and the stack of books is this tall. Yeah. And so it's just like, okay, all the recommendations. Yeah. But I do support our local libraries because most of my books come from the library. Yes. And these days, I don't know if you know, we have Libby on campus, you know, for audiobooks. And so I walk my dog every day, me and Walker, and I'm listening to something. Like right now, I'm listening to Patricia Cornwell's, oh gosh, what is it called? It's the newest one because the TV show is coming out. And so I'm like, okay, let me get caught up on her books. And something happened. I was like, no, it didn't. And Walker's looking at me like, Mama, what's wrong? And so I do enjoy listening to some audiobooks too. Now I'm like totally blanking on the title of this book. But Patricia Cornwell is one of my favorites. I used to want to be a forensic pathologist, which is the job of Kay Scarpetta in the book. Okay. And so I remember writing my college essay saying, I want to be like Kay Scarpetta when I grow up. Because Body Farm, I read that book and I was like, ooh, that seems like a cool job. Yeah. I want to go and do that. And there are always going to be people who are deceased. And so I'm like, that's a pretty stable position as well. Yeah. I was very practical about my choice, but obviously I didn't go that route, but you know.
Yeah. And I think you answered this with the stack of your books in your living room, but are you more of a Kindle or like a real book person?
Real books.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think I've read a digital book in... I used to have a Nook. I don't even know if you know what that is. It came from Barnes & Noble.
Yes.
Yes. And so I was the Nook queen when it came out. And I used to travel a lot. And so I would have my Nook with me and, you know, have it loaded up with whatever I wanted to read. And then it went dead. And then they stopped making them. And now the charger doesn't charge anymore. And it's like, okay. Yeah. But I've always preferred a real book because for any of my personal books, I will write in them. And I'll put my tabs in and all that good stuff. But for my library books, you know, I'll like take a screenshot of a page and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to remember this part of this book for some reason. So I'm not the best at doing that. But the audiobooks have come to like because I was an avid against the audiobooks maybe like 5 or 6 years ago before COVID. Yeah. But then COVID hit and I'm just like, you know, let me try this out and they're good. Yeah. Right? And it's like, oh, I have time, but I need to use my hands for something, but I can also listen while cooking or whatever. Yeah. So I've gotten into that now. But I am one of those people who speeds it up.
Yes.
So now when people are talking in real life, I'm like, I wish I could speed you up.
Where's the times 2 button?
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I had to ask, you said you read, and I was like, oh, there's nobody who's like, yeah, I like a Kindle and a real. You're on one side or the other, and so I had to ask. I had to know. Yeah. You shared that eating ice cream is a guilty pleasure. Oh, yeah. What type of ice cream is your favorite?
Oh, my gosh. Cookies and cream, but not really cookies and cream. Oreos and vanilla. That's my favorite. I don't know if y'all have been to Nikki's yet. It's an ice cream shop in Aiken.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, their cookies and cream is so good. Okay. And when I was younger, I had a friend who worked at Dairy Queen, and they used to have they still have it, the Oreo Blizzard, right? So that was my thing. Whenever he was working, I'm like, Jason, can I get that Blizzard, please? But then they switched to off-brand Oreos. Oh. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's disgusting. And so I realized I was sort of a cookie snob, you know? And so really, if it's not real Oreos, I'm not going to like it. And I went through this phase where I would just get my own double stuffed Oreos and chop them up and put in my own vanilla ice cream and go for it. But yeah, that is by far my favorite. And I just had some, what was that? Monday for lunch.
Okay.
I went to Flanagan's and got some ice cream.
Yes, Flanagan's is good. Flanagan's is good. Do you, the cookies and cream Oreo milkshake from Cookout?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I just I enjoy that there's like real chunks. Yeah. You know, it's like I can actually eat the Oreo sometimes and not just.
Yeah, because I don't really like milkshakes so much.
Okay.
So I'll take theirs and eat it with a spoon. But
Yeah.
then by the time you get to the end, it's all runny and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I want like real like hand dips.
Yes.
Ice cream in a cone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Waffle
that's why
cone,
Nikki's
sugar cone.
waffle cone.
Waffle cone. Okay.
You know, and Nikki's makes their own waffle cones, and so
Oh.
you walk in, you're like smelling the waffle cone already, so you know you
Yes.
want it.
Yeah,
And then
right.
it's just a matter of how much ice cream you go put in that thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go
You gotta
because
go.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
There's a coffee shop nearby.
Yeah,
and I go
it's
to
right there
it
in the
all the
corner.
time.
Yeah, mhm.
And it always looks good.
Yeah, and I
but
haven't been in that
definitely-
coffee shop since they changed their name or
Yeah.
changed management.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I used to go there pretty often
Yeah,
too.
and so I'm gonna have to go to the coffee shop now.
Yeah.
Cop and medical dramas are some of the media you consume. What are your favorite shows and why?
Oh gosh. All right. So my dad got me into this. X-Files was my
Okay.
favorite show growing up. I was a total nerd out kid, right? But I had my cool nerd out friends, and we would nerd out together on the back of the bus, you know, talking about X-Files. And oh gosh, what was that other show with the karate guy? Brain fog. It'll come back to me later. But growing up, X-Files for real, and I still will watch X-Files reruns because Fox and Mulder are
Yeah.
two pretty interesting people. And of course, you know, aliens and supernatural, whatever, that's kind of blends in there too.
All right.
Right now, my dad has also gotten me watching all the FBIs.
Okay.
And now there's a CIA.
Yes.
Which CIA is kind of weird to me, but you know, I'm still into the FBIs. It's one of those things I'll put on in the background and I'll go around the house and do other stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see, NCIS is still one of those. I hate all the spinoffs, but you know,
Yeah.
it happens. Go Hollywood. But I have been watching Grey's Anatomy since the beginning. And I will cry with them at the end of every season because it's, you know, somebody always dies. you know.
Right.
Some horrible thing will happen or explosion in the hospital or, you know,
Yeah.
ambulance hits somebody, you know, whatever it is. So I've been laughing and crying with Grey's Anatomy
That's awesome.
for over, 15 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
It's been a long time. And I recently started watching The Pit
Okay.
on HBO.
Is it good?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's also like traumatic.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a little dark
Yeah.
from what I've heard.
Yeah, it is, but it you know, it tackles real world problems and you know, in a 1 hour time frame, you know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Like nostalgia shows, I'll go out and watch in New York Undercover sometimes. And Homicide, Life on the Streets. Those are the cool ones from the 90s and the early 2000s that if I see a rerun, I'm definitely going to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
But they're definitely shows, just kind of like reading, I can watch it and like, oh, why are they doing that? That's so wrong. And, you know, like, no, you can't get your crime sniffing device to sniff out
Right.
something to give you the results right away.
Right,
No, that is
that's
not a real
how that
thing.
works.
Like the CSI craze where students were coming in like, I want to be a CSI. And I'm like, do you like science? No. Well, like you can't you can't be a CSI.
Right.
Like it's not gonna happen that way.
I'm gonna do it just like the movies.
Right. But yeah, I love me some random crime shows for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So tell me how you got into sociology.
Well, I got into it initially because I wanted to be, you know, some sort of forensic pathologist, you know. And when I went to undergrad, they had sociology with an emphasis in criminal justice and criminology. So I was like, okay, obviously this is the track that I need to go on. I had all these other ideas of what I wanted to be too in my brain, but that's the one ultimately I sort of decided that I wanted to do. And so as I'm getting into my intro to sociology class, I had the strangest professor. And the thing is, I got it, you know, and it was just like one of those things that, oh, so that's why they were treating me like that? Or, oh, so that's why people do that, you know, and it just kind of made the social world kind of click, you know, in a sense. And so as it clicked, I was like, okay, I can see myself, you know, really thinking in this way. And I got one of my favorite professors, Dr. Bernadette Holmes. She's still at Norfolk State. I think she actually retires this year. But anyway, so she was my favorite professor. I'm in criminological theory class, and I'm just like into it, just like so into it. And so I knew that sociology was definitely my wheelhouse, but criminology became really interesting. And so she was one of the first people to tell me that I should go to graduate school. Because before that, you know, I was thinking going straight into some sort of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Didn't really know, but I did an internship that told me I did not want to be a regular police officer. But yeah, so I got into criminology and I got introduced to some summer internships. And so I went off to do research, criminological research at East Tennessee State University for a couple of summers with the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program. And that's still in effect as one of the TRIO programs that comes out of the government. And in doing that research there with, a criminologist, I'm like, this is so cool. And I'm sitting here going through dusty court records, enjoying it, as I'm collecting data and doing all this stuff. And so that got me really interested in graduate school, and still in graduate school doing my sociology degree. But then I got interested in women's and gender studies. And so I got a certificate in women's and gender studies because, again, that initial sort of understanding of gender inequality that I got from my sociology classes and recognizing these are some of the experiences that I had. I just never had any of the words to put to, why I had these experiences. And so I got that certificate, and then I went on forward to my PhD in sociology. I'm like, I'm just gonna be a career student at this point. And so as I did that, I really got interested in intimate partner violence and particularly women's participation in crime, because most of the crime dramas are always like some dude doing some crime against either some woman or some other man, And I'm just like, so what about the women? Don't we have agency? Yeah. Can't we go and rob a bank if we feel like it? So I got into that research with a professor that was there, Dr. Michelle Miller, and she was doing research on women and in their, agency at committing crimes. And so I really got interested in there and victim advocacy work. And again, as a part of sociology, looking at the inequalities amongst victim advocates and in rural areas versus urban areas. And it just, sociology helps me to put everything in a place. Yeah. And, we talk about our sociological imagination, right? Just being able to see things in a broader social perspective. And I think that is a benefit of being a sociologist, but also here at USCA, y'all are kind of forced to take a social science class. And I am so excited that, we do that, particularly with sociology, because there are some students who, really have lived myopic lives where they have just been in one place with one type of people. And that's just kind of how the way the world works. But it's great to be able to be exposed to ways that people think differently from you and understand why they might think differently from you. Yeah. That was a really long answer to your question.
No, it was perfect. It was wonderful. Okay. What do you like about teaching here at USCA?
I like being able to interact with students directly in smaller classrooms. So, in graduate school, I was teaching classes of 150, 200 people. And in a lecture hall, I'm just looking up the entire time, and it's just, I might know 3 of the students' names that are in the front row talking to me, but the rest of the people are just in and out, right? And so I really enjoy the smaller classes. I enjoy being able to call my students by name and, see them in the hallways and see them at their events, after hours or what have you, and having students come back. Last night, I was at an event where we did an induction of our Sociology Honor Society students into Alpha Kappa Delta. And one of our alumni came back, Ashad Hips, and he's a PhD now. And he's came back and he told a story and talked about having the professors who most are still here today, and students were in there just eating it up, okay, you got out of here and you did well. So it's really nice to be able to, do that in this environment in which people are just kind of local too. So I know some of my students' parents just because, I live here and I'm involved in the community. And I think that it's really cool in that way, but also, you have the accountability of the community too, because you can't act up out in the community and then come to work and everyone's going to know about it, and vice versa. So I think that students particularly, their parents are down the road. So it's okay, I got to be a good student because my mom might hear about this. And, it's nice having the local students because you can talk about things that are going on around here. And I ask questions all the time about, what do you know about this community or that community, and how does that affect, how they might vote in an election, or how they might think about religion, or, what have you. And local students know, this area is more like this and that area is more like that. And we can have those conversations, and even involving the students who are not from here. But Aiken's so small that if you have a vehicle, you can go and ride around it in 15 minutes and you can figure out, the parts of town. So, that's the best part. It's just having the smaller class sizes, I think, and just the type of students that we have.
Yeah. Tell me about your, Tell me about your involvement as co-director of the minors in African American Studies.
Yeah, so along with Professor Elizabeth Webb, we are co-directors. We started the program a few years ago, and it's a minor that's interdisciplinary. So we have courses in sociology, communication, history, theater, music, English. I'm missing one. There's another one. Charge it to my head, not my heart. And so students will take these interdisciplinary courses, and they get to have this minor in African American Studies. And we thought it was very important to do this. Of course, it kind of came at that time of racial reckoning, right, where we're really thinking about ways in which we could help students to have more diversity in their thought processes. But it's a minor that has existed at colleges for dozens, of years, for decades. And we had the courses already. We didn't have to create any courses. We brought these courses together to say, hey, if you want to follow this track, then we think that you would satisfy having this increased understanding of African American experiences. And this is a benefit for anyone in the workforce, or just for their knowledge base, just to have an understanding of African American experiences.
Yeah. What is what was the passion behind creating this minor?
Yeah, so I teach a course called the Sociology of the Black Experience, and I have taught it since I was teaching at Payne College in Augusta. And it's just one of those courses that takes a sociological perspective using the works of W.E.B. Du Bois and another author. I change it up every year to pull like a modern piece of work in. And students love the course, absolutely love it. And they're like, why can't we have more courses like this? And when I teach race, class, gender, crime, and justice, and I get to that race section, which is only a few weeks of the course, students are oftentimes like, why can't we have more stuff like this? And, other professors were getting the same thing, teaching African American music. Why can't we have more stuff like this?
Yeah.
And we finally said, it's time to have more stuff like this, right? And put these courses together and actually have students have a credential, because, we're kind of into that, but have a credential to say, yes, I have taken it upon myself to take these courses and have this increased understanding.
That's really cool. You've been with USCA for 14 years. How have you seen the campus change over time?
Like some days I walk around, I'm like, wait a minute, was that there before? I think that campus has changed, for the better in most ways. When I first came here, I was living in Augusta and coming back and forth, and it wasn't a long drive. I actually lived closer there than I did when I moved to Aiken. But coming onto campus, and it used to be the first thing you see was just like the sign, and then at one point we got white picket fences. And I remember coming on campus one day, I was like, wait a minute, when did we get a white fence outside? Oh, not a picket fence, but you know what I'm talking about, the horse-looking fence, the equestrian-looking fence that's out there. That brand of being very much equestrian grounded, I think, has changed over the years too, with the, bringing on the equestrian sports and everything like that onto campus. And the fountain and all of that has definitely changed, like the aesthetics of it all. One thing that I'm enjoying is seeing the new technologies that we're integrating, like the media lab, which is pretty cool, right? But classrooms getting a little bit better equipped with some media that will help us out in the ways in which we present to students. And also, faculty has changed a bit too, over the years. I came in with, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 people, and not all of those people are here. They've moved on to other places, but those of us who have stayed, we keep in touch, and we've been able to see our students come and go. And I think that's one thing that's changed as well, is that our student population has changed a little bit. I wish we did still have more international students, and of course times are changing, and that's not the case in the same way anyways as it was in the past. But we have more study abroad experiences now on campus than we did when I first arrived. I just saw an email the other day from Ahmed Samaha that asked for applications for study abroads for faculty. I'm like, maybe I should create a study abroad trip. Right. I've been thinking about it for a while and I haven't done it yet. So I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. Maybe I could put some time out and and create one. But yeah, I think that, our courses have definitely changed a little bit over the years, and particularly with the minor in African American Studies and the new certificate programs that we have.
Yeah.
Just creating more opportunities for students to get better at whatever they want to do.
Yeah, awesome. You said finding your place at the intersection of education, community service, and African American culture was a great accomplishment for you. Tell me more about how you came to that, and then what it looks like for you to be settled in that intersection.
Yeah. Kind of through my experiences getting on nonprofit boards is really how I sort of made it to that point. So as you know, with faculty, we have to do service in the community, we have to do our research, and we have to teach, right?
Yeah.
And we have to do those things pretty well in order to be promoted. And as I was putting together my third year review, I'm trying to summarize everything, and I'm just like, wow, I do teach these things, yes. Ooh, I go out and serve in the community, and in serving in the community, I teach those same things. Okay, cool. And then I look at my research, I'm like, yeah, I'm also researching these same sort of inequalities. And I decided at that point that, everything that I do is going to connect some way into this sort of trifecta of, research and service and teaching about inequality in African American experiences. And, I did that with the help of definitely others in the community, with NAACP, with the Center for African American History, Art, and Culture, even with working at Helping Hands and, working with the staff there and most of the clients that they have there. And just, being able to make connections with other people in the community. So, for instance, I completed the Citizens Academy through Aiken Department of Public Safety early on in my career, and I made relationships with, some of the police officers and some of the folks at the solicitor's office, and being able to do that and say, hey, what about this segment of the population? How are you helping out this segment of the population? Like asking those questions. Why don't we have, art representing this segment of the population? So being able to be in rooms where I could ask those questions and then maybe educate folks on, why they should consider doing something a different way, because it may not sound quite right or, have the same meaning for everyone in the population. And I just found, it's kind of, because it was important to me, I felt that it should be important to other people, whether or not they think so. And so at least I raised the issue. Up to you to decide whether or not to take my word on it. But I feel like I put myself in spaces where I can, I'm not saying I'm a voice for the African American community or anything like that, but to be able to be in a space where I can ask the question or pose a response from someone with a different perspective than many of the people that are in the room.
Yeah, that is so cool. I think one really cool thing that over the past few years people have been able to do is stand up and be like, hey, this has been an issue, or I've seen this, like let's fix this and let's create it. And so that's been really cool. Yeah. Okay, this is wild. I read this and we have to talk about it. You can talk about it for the next hour if you want to.
Gosh.
But you booked a solo weekend trip to Bogota, Colombia, just because there was a cheap plane ticket. I want to be that spontaneous one day.
You can do it.
You tell me that story.
All right, so I don't even know when this was, like 2014, 15, 16, I don't know, something like that. I was just on a site online and somebody had posted cheap tickets to Bogota. I was like, oh, I've never been to Colombia. Let me check it out. And this was probably September when the thing popped up. And I was playing around with it, looking at tickets, and I was like, oh, they got a flight from Atlanta. I was like, okay. Oh, it's only $50? Oh, okay. And so I booked that thing immediately.
Yeah.
And the next month, I was on a plane. It was probably November. It was November because it was before Thanksgiving break. And so I went to the airport. I took the little groom shuttle to the airport and got myself together, got on the plane, called my mom when I got to Bogota. She said, where you at? I said, oh, I'm in Colombia. And she's thinking, Colombia,
right.
down the road. And she's like, oh, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm having an espresso. And she's like, why are you drinking coffee this late? I'm like, oh, because I want to hang out and party. She's like, oh, okay. She's like, where are you going to party at in Colombia? I'm like, Mom, in Columbia, the country. And so also, it's high elevation, and I needed to like get my brain and my breath right. And so I was like drinking espresso to calm myself down. But yeah, it was definitely spur of the moment. But I did a lot of solo traveling at that time.
Okay.
And I still if I see a cheap ticket, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Like me and my friends also booked a ticket to Dubai, and
Oh my goodness.
that was hilarious. We had a name for it. It was like Abu Dhabi Gate or something, because it actually went to Abu Dhabi, and the ticket was like $100 to go round trip. And we just we're like, okay, I'm booking the ticket. I hope you can go.
Right.
And so it's just sort of I love to travel, and I think it was Mark Twain who said that traveling is the only thing. Oh, that's not the way. I can't remember how that goes. We're pretty much traveling in ignorance, right? So, you can spend money on travel, and you'll actually learn something, and that's the thing. And I feel that having more cultural experiences of cultures that are different than mine helped me to open my mind, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, I was trying to learn Spanish, so it was like also a prime time to get stuck in a place where the place that I stayed was not the most touristy area, so I had to make myself say the words and get out there and be uncomfortable. I mean, I got to know some great people on that trip, one of which I traveled with again later on, because I stayed in this random hostel, and we found an American jazz club down the road. And just had a good time for the weekend. And I got back on the plane with a whole bunch of coffee, and had a good time.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. You said you live to eat. What is some of the best food you've ever had?
Oh my gosh. I eat so much. This is why I can't be on a diet. I have had so many trainers and nutritionists over the years say, you should probably do this, this, and that. Now, like, I'll try it for a week or two. And then I'm like, oh, I see ice cream. Let me go and get it. Best foods. Everything. So I love like Indian food.
Okay.
I'm a vegetarian for the most part. I eat some fish every now and then, so I guess pescatarian. But I was vegetarian for over a decade, and I traveled to India a few times. And in India, I feel like almost every place that I went, the food was just better than at home. Just the number of spices that are in the food, and that combined with the types of cheeses and the flavors that come along with it. I just love Indian food, and I'll go to Taj and Aiken every now and then, and grab something for lunch or for dinner. And that's usually on my, if I don't feel like cooking list, I'll call in Taj and go and pick that up and bring it home. And I love Thai food as well.
Okay.
And so I got into Thai food here in the US, and I was like, I wonder what Thai food tastes like in Thailand. And so I went off on one of those solo trips again, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try out some food in different parts of Thailand. And I did it. I ate my way through Thailand.
So cool.
And it was amazing. And even most recently, I traveled somewhere, and the food was not very good. Where were we at? Oh, we were in Ireland. And we were like, oh, let's go find some Asian food, because we know it's going to be good. So we went to a Thai restaurant, we went to a Korean restaurant, and, we had time for our lives. And a Japanese restaurant, I think, too, while we were over there, and, just ate it up. But I think, if I only had 2 foods in life, I could have rice, 3, rice, beans, and ice cream.
Okay.
I could live off of that in some combination, because it's just good. And also my mama's mac and cheese, because, whenever she makes that, I'm like, freeze me some, please. Because they still live in Virginia, and, she'll send me a picture or, FaceTime me or something and show me the macaroni and cheese that she's making. I'm like, why are you doing this to me?
That's so mean.
So, she froze some for Easter that I still have yet to get. So I want some of my mama's mac and cheese.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, to wrap this up, we do a segment called This or That.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 2 options, and you give me the option you would choose. Don't think about it too hard.
Okay.
So Coke or Pepsi?
Can I say neither? Dr. Pepper?
Okay. Text or call?
Depends on the person, but text.
Okay. Sandals or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Sneakers. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Oh. Movie date or dinner date?
Dinner.
The station or the sack?
Depends on the day. Station.
The station. Okay,
Yeah.
that is the most popular one.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well,
it was
thank
great to
you.
have you and hear your story. You can go to pacerstudios.org or any of our socials to be able to listen to more episodes.